Okay, folks. So today is the last day of Battle for Azeroth. Tomorrow, Shadowlands is released, so I thought I would do kind of a review, go over how my experience was, what I liked, what I didn't like. For me, Battle for Azeroth wasn't too bad. It wasn't terrible. I enjoyed most of what I did. It wasn't perhaps the South Seas expansion that a lot of people had wanted or hoped for a while, but it wasn't too terrible once you kind of got used to things. I think in some cases, I know, speaking for myself, I think maybe first impressions were a little harsh at some things at first, but later game there was a variety of stuff to do. Now, whether you want to argue that was worthwhile or that had any, it added to, the end game experience or anything is probably debatable. But regardless, there was stuff to do, and that's usually the complaint at the end of an expansion is there's really nothing to do. You do your questing, your campaigns, whatever, highlight feature um, that expansion has, and then you're pretty much done. So I found myself in the later half of the expansion doing more of the things I was a little more critical of earlier on. So, um, dungeons were one thing that I did quite a bit. Dungeons are probably one of my more favorite pieces of content to do. I did a bunch leveling. I did a bunch of mythics, which I had fun with for the most part. Didn't do a lot of raids, whole lot of raids. I did some raiding here and there. Just I guess just because I really had nothing else to do at different points, trying to get gear or trying to maybe get like a piece of gear for a transmog or something like that from LFR, things like that. So just here and there, just something to kind of work on, for that week or something, run a couple characters through, an LFR or something. I think that was kind of the interesting thing was with Mythics, you really don't need to do raids to get gear. Of course, that was, I think, in part the idea. However, if you are having, if you're not able to do mythics for whatever reason, some of the higher keys I had a little more challenging time getting in groups that was able to finish some of the dungeons we had started for one reason or the other. Trying to just jump over and do raids didn't translate as well. A lot of stuff I was overgeared for, and the stuff that like the normal heroic mode, stuff like that, there just weren't always a lot of groups on for one fight or the other. So that was a little that was probably my only criticism of doing mythics was you got gear, but it didn't translate that well into every other part of the game, if that makes sense. Um, Island expeditions, I'm still of two minds on. I did some at the end because I wanted some of the vendor items, some of the cosmetic items and things like that. I did get one of the mounts from the chests the vendors have. It's a little sad that probably won't be that will probably be something that probably, of course, a lot of people won't queue for now. When you can just run something for, maybe 10 minutes and there's a chance to get a mount or cosmetic items or something. I like the idea of it. Just something you can do quickly that there's a chance to earn something. As I said, there were quite a few weapons that were, I think, mostly intended for cosmetic purposes. You could have used them. They were level appropriate as I remember. I don't remember anything being like weirdly statted or anything like that. So depending on your character and where you were, you could have potentially used it as an actual item. So that was kind of cool. And then of course the mounts, the pets. I got quite a few pets. Never had a mount drop. As I said, the one that I really wanted was the Hound, and I got that from the recolor of the Mists of Pandaria mount, and I got that from the chest from the Doubloon vendor. Um, what was I going to say? What was the other one? Not Assault. Was it Assault? The what were they? I'm losing my train of thought now. The well, I was gonna say, let's go over here and see, so I actually can remember what I was. Yeah, they were assaults, weren't they? Or did they completely? No, there we go. Warframes. There we go. How could I forget that? Yeah, these were kind of a short-lived thing for me. I never did the heroic version. Yeah, that I can remember. I don't think I ever did a heroic version. I think I was just done with them after that. It was a very short-lived thing. I think a lot of people did just to get gear, and then they just stopped doing them. Um, the idea of this was, again, not bad, but there was just a lot of stuff you had to do to be able to do it. You had to donate resources, and then, as you see here, there's it's time gated, and yeah, it was just a lot to do. It was very long to get one piece of gear, and if everybody wasn't coordinated, um, as well as maybe they could be, it would take you even longer. And yeah, it just was not an enjoyable thing to do. It was a good concept. I like the idea of going in with a bunch of people to, um, take what seemed like a larger part in the story. It just seemed very long to get one, maybe two, potentially pieces of gear. I think there was a quest for this initially. I'm trying to remember. I think you got a piece of gear for completing it, and then I think the final boss offered you another one. Maybe that's what it was. But as I remember, they weren't equal level, so maybe one piece you could use, one piece you couldn't. It was just a really kind of odd um, mismatch of ideas, I'll say. Aside from that, let's see here. I did the legendary cloak on one character that wasn't terrible. Um, I only did it specifically on one. I made the mistake of doing the legendary ring on two characters, and then trying to get the upgrades and everything like that was it was a lot. It was interesting. So I said, well, I'm just at this point in time, since it was so later in the expansion, I said I was only going to get it on one character, and I think that was probably for the best. I did a bunch of the um, assaults. Those weren't too bad. You could do those on your own. You could do them in a group. Um, I think what they did with the mounts and different things like that was, it wasn't overboard, but it was something you could kind of work towards and work for. I think I got all the mounts that were available. I got the Drake of the Four Winds. I got the the white thundering cloud serpent. I got the ivory cloud serpent. I got one of the hounds. I think the other one I kept farming for and I hadn't got it yet. To my knowledge, they're not taking those away. I haven't actually checked. I've logged on to my my mage who has the cloak, and as far as I know, the assaults are still up. So I'm not sure if they're going to phase those out at some point. I'm not entirely clear. I haven't really looked up very much on it quite yet. And then I guess that would just leave the pre-patch event for Ice Crown, which wasn't honestly wasn't too bad. I actually enjoyed it more than the Battle for Azeroth pre-patch event. No morally gray situations or anything like that. Fairly short to get into it, and then you could it was just kind of a sandbox, basically, I would say, so to speak. It was kind of disappointing there wasn't kind of a skip all, just so you could grind some of the bosses and stuff, the rares, just so you could get gear, since that was mostly the large point. The idea was to get your alts geared and everything like that. But even at that, the quests and everything you have to do are fairly short. You do the same thing each time. So once you've done it once or twice, you can pretty well speed your way through it. So I think I will have to say, as far as like the main cities we had, I think the Alliance got I think Alliance got off a little better with Boralus than the Horde did with Zandalar. I like Trolls. Of the Horde races, I think Trolls would probably be one of my favorites. I have a Zandalar Troll that I leveled, and I will probably be playing in Shadowlands. However, just the whole theme of Boralus, the whole Navy theme. Of course, I've played Alliance more than I've played Horde, so with the whole storyline with Jaina and everything, and just all the gear you could get, I've probably farmed more gear in this expansion because I wanted all the kind of pirate looks and all of that than I probably have in any other expansion. I think they did a really good job with that. They did some of it with the Horde side, just not as much. They gave you some kind of Zandalar troll themes and different things like that. They just didn't go quite as far into it. So, and that being said, again, to kind of come back around to where I started, kind of come full circle here, some of the dungeons, Freehold, Siege of Boralus, Toldagar, I think was probably my favorite. That or Waycrest Manor, King's Rest. I mean, they all did a really good job. Operation Mechagon was interesting. Mechagon in general was interesting. I've spent a lot of time out there. I got the cat. I got some of the paint. Some of the paint options for the Mecha Cat. I still need to get one for my ATV. That takes a little more work, so I thought, okay, that could be something I can work on maybe during Shadowlands at some point in time like that. It didn't really seem like something that wouldn't be viable, I'll say, in Shadowlands. So it just basically takes time because the drops are somewhat rare for the ATV. So yeah, all in all, enjoyed myself. Overall, probably enjoyed Battle for Azeroth more than I enjoyed Legion. Didn't do too much with PvP. Before, almost forgot. Because of just all the changes, I didn't really like the changes. I started out really trying to get into PvP. I tried it on the Horde side, I tried it on the Alliance side. Just having to maintain a rating for the whole thing just didn't. Just kind of took the fun out of it, because you're not just playing just for the sake of playing. PvP is kind of a win some, lose some situation. Now, if you lose some for whatever reason, now your rating dropped, now you have to worry about that, and then you have to go in and do all, it just, I don't know, it just wasn't fun for me like it was in Legion, where you just needed to get, 40 wins in a rated battleground, and then you could go pick them out. Like, that was, it wasn't something you were going to do in one sitting. It was something you could work on. Then you got to pick a mount. I have seen a lot of people with these seasonal rewards. So it's either maybe because of the other PvE content, people just went more for PvP, or maybe it just actually got more people into PvP. Regardless, I mean, that's fine. If you liked it, I mean, good for you. It just really wasn't for me. I do like how they did the bar, where you could get a piece of gear and then you could get a chest as well. I thought that was nice. Thought that was a good idea, because we didn't have a PvP vendor in this expansion to get gear, or any of the appearances or anything like we did in Legion, at least to my knowledge. I don't know if they will eventually put some in at some point in time as like a, during a pre-patch kind of a unlisted thing. Sometimes they will do that. They'll just add vendors to something and just not tell you. Other than that, like I said, keystones, I didn't mind too much. I did some on about a handful of different characters for different reasons. And yeah, so I think that was pretty much it. I was trying to think if I missed something. I don't think so. The zones for questing were all pretty good, I think, for an expansion. Again, I think the Alliance got maybe a little better. Came out a little better in terms of zones. Again, just with the theme and everything like that, it all kind of tied together. However, the Horde, their zones went really well with their theme. So it was kind of nice as I was switching back and forth, leveling different characters. You got a different experience, not just because you were playing a different faction, but because you were in a different zone. World quests were really nice. I haven't heard if they're carrying world quests over to Shadowlands. It seemed like something that they were going to carry over. People really liked them in Legion, so they carried them over into Battle for Azeroth. So I'm figuring at max level we will have some way of unlocking some version of them in Shadowlands. I would certainly hope so. And yeah, I think that was pretty much about it. I think both sides had a pretty good story. I am not the biggest I'm not the biggest player when it comes to like lore or story or things like that. I kind of catch bits and pieces of it here and there, of course. But for the most part, I mean, as I quested through zones and did, campaigns and things like that, it was pretty good. It made sense. You were able to follow it. I kind of got into both sides here and there at different points. So, yeah, all in all, we'll be a little sad to see this expansion go and move on. I will be excited to see what they do for the time walking dungeons and what mounts and different toys they'll have for that. And yeah, so there you go, folks. So there is my thoughts slash review of Battle for Azeroth. And thank you for watching.